Why you miss the narcissist even after they hurt you. If you've ever left a narcissistic relationship, or tried to, and found yourself missing them in a way that felt almost unbearable, almost shameful, almost impossible to explain to anyone around you, this video is for you. Because the people in your life probably don't understand it. They saw what he did to you. They watched you cry. They listened to the stories. And now they look at you with confusion when you say you miss him. Some of them might have even said things like, just move on. You're better off without him. Why would you miss someone who treated you like that? And you don't have an answer. Because you don't fully understand it yourself. You know he hurt you. You know the relationship was toxic. You know logically that leaving was the right thing. And yet there is this ache. This pull. This strange grief that doesn't feel like it should exist, but does. I want you to know, there is nothing wrong with you. What you're feeling is not weakness. It is not stupidity. It is not love in the way most people understand love. It is something far more complex. And once you understand what's actually happening, the missing starts to make a different kind of sense. The first reason you miss them, you're not missing the person. You're missing the potential. This is one of the most important things to understand about grieving a narcissistic relationship. What you miss is rarely who they actually were on a daily basis. The coldness, the criticism, the confusion, the pain. What you miss is who they were in the beginning. Or more accurately, who you believed they could be. Because in the beginning they showed you something extraordinary. They were attentive, passionate, interested in every detail of your life. They made you feel like the most seen, most cherished, most special woman in the world. And even as things deteriorated, even as the relationship became painful, that early version of them stayed alive in your memory. You held on to it. You kept trying to get back to it. For example, you don't miss the nights he ignored you. You don't miss walking on eggshells. You don't miss the arguments that left you feeling crazy. You miss the first 3 months. The texts that came constantly. The way he looked at you. The feeling of being chosen so completely. And the hope. The persistent, exhausting hope. That if you just figured out the right combination, that person would come back. That person was not real. Or rather, that person was a performance specifically designed to get you attached. But the feeling it created in you is real. And that feeling is what you're grieving. Not him. The feeling. The second reason you miss them. Trauma bonding is a physiological reality. Trauma bonding is not a buzzword. It is not an excuse. It is a well-documented psychological phenomenon that occurs when cycles of abuse and affection create a powerful emotional attachment, often stronger than the attachment formed in healthy relationships. Here's how it works. Every time he was cold, cruel, or withholding, your nervous system went into distress. And every time he came back warm, affectionate, and loving, your brain released a flood of relief chemicals. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. Over time your brain began to associate him specifically with the resolution of distress. He became both the source of the pain and the cure for it. And that combination creates one of the most powerful bonds a human brain can form. For example, he goes silent for days. You're anxious, obsessing, barely sleeping. Then he calls. His voice is warm. He says the right things. And instantly, you feel better. That relief is so intense, so physical, so immediate that your brain registers it as profound connection, as love. But what it actually is your nervous system calming down after being deliberately activated. He didn't make you feel loved. He made you feel relief. And your brain couldn't tell the difference. This is why leaving feels like withdrawal. Because it is withdrawal. Your brain is literally missing the chemical cycle it became dependent on. And that is not a character flaw. That is neuroscience. The third reason you miss them, your identity got tangled up in the relationship. After months or years with a narcissist, your sense of self becomes deeply intertwined with the relationship itself. So much of your emotional energy, your daily thoughts, your sense of purpose was organized around this person. Managing their moods, anticipating their needs, trying to figure out how to make things better. The relationship became the central structure of your inner world. And when it ends, even when you chose to end it, that structure collapses. And the silence that's left behind is disorienting in a way that has nothing to do with missing him specifically. It's the absence of the noise. The absence of the constant emotional occupation. Suddenly there's nothing to manage. No moods to read. No crisis to navigate. And that emptiness, that unfamiliar quiet, your brain interprets as loss. For example, you leave the relationship, and the first few weeks feel almost peaceful. And then the quiet becomes overwhelming. You don't know what to think about. You don't know who to be without this dynamic. You find yourself checking your phone for messages that aren't coming. Not because you want him back necessarily, but because the absence of that constant stimulation feels wrong. Feels empty. Feels like something is missing. And in a way something is. The chaos that became your normal. The fourth reason you miss them: you're grieving the relationship you deserved, but never got. This one runs deep. Because when you grieve a narcissistic relationship, you're not just grieving what was. You're grieving what could have been. What should have been. The relationship you thought you were getting into in the beginning. The partnership you kept working toward. The version of love you kept believing was just around the corner if you could only get things right. You gave so much. You tried so hard. You stayed longer than you should have because you genuinely believed in the potential of what you had. And leaving means accepting that all of that effort, all of that love, all of that patience, all of that hope, did not produce what you needed it to produce. That is a profound loss. Not just of a relationship, but of an investment. Of time. Of yourself. For example, you think about the future you planned together. The things you talked about building. The life you imagined. And you grieve not just him, but that future. The children you maybe talked about. The home. The partnership. The growing old together. None of it was real in the way you believed it was. And letting go of that imagined future is sometimes even harder than letting go of the actual person. You are allowed to grieve that. It was real to you. And that matters. The fifth reason you miss them: no one tells you that healing is not linear. Most people expect that once they leave a toxic relationship, the missing will fade quickly and steadily. That each day will be a little better than the last. That within a few months they'll be over it completely. And when that doesn't happen, when they have a terrible week at month 3, or find themselves crying over a memory at month 6, or feel a sudden wave of longing out of nowhere at month 9, they interpret it as failure. As evidence that something is wrong with them. As proof that they're not healing. But healing from narcissistic abuse is not linear. It does not move in a straight line from pain to okay. It moves in waves. It circles back. It has good weeks and devastating weeks. It has moments of genuine peace followed by unexpected grief. That is not regression. That is the actual texture of real healing. For example, you go 3 weeks feeling genuinely good. Present. Like yourself again. And then a song comes on that you used to listen to together, and it hits you like a wave you weren't prepared for. And you spend a day or two in the grief again. And you think, why am I back here? I thought I was past this. You're not back at the beginning. You're just experiencing the non-linear reality of healing something this deep. The wave doesn't mean you haven't progressed. It just means this particular wound runs deep. And deep wounds take time. Real time. Not the timeline other people think you should be on. Before you go, I want to leave you with some questions. Not to answer out loud. Just to sit with. When you think about missing him, what specifically comes to mind? Is it him as he actually was most of the time? Or is it a specific version of him? A moment, a feeling, a promise of who he could be? Have you given yourself permission to grieve this properly? Not to get over it quickly. Not to be strong about it. But to actually sit with the loss and let it be as big as it actually is? Think about all the love you poured into that relationship. All the patience. All the trying. If you had given even half of that energy to yourself, to your own healing, your own dreams, your own life, where would you be right now? Is the missing getting quieter over time? Even slowly, even imperfectly? Or does it feel exactly as loud as it did at the beginning? Because if it's getting even slightly quieter, that is healing. Even if it doesn't feel like it yet. And finally, what would it mean for you to fully let go? Not of the memory, not of the lesson, but of the hope that it could have been different. That he could have been different. What would your life look like on the other side of that letting go? That life is waiting for you. It has been waiting for you this whole time. Follow for more on psychology, narcissistic abuse, and finding your way back to yourself.